One of our modern day heroes, I believe, particularly in the news media. And I love this guy. I love the fact that he goes out there in the front line, puts himself at risk, being bullied, being vilified, and I love the way he stands up for his rights and he knows his rights. And Avi Yemini from Rebel News, what a legend you are. Avi, welcome to Prayer and Pushback.
Thanks for having me, mate.
I thought you'd like that video clip there, mate.
I really enjoyed the clip, and because at first when you put me, I've never seen that Christian pastor Andrew before, and I thought, oh, that's a bit unfair. You're putting him before me. It's going to make it a little bit of a hard act to follow. He's great though, and I think it's kind of timely because I'm not sure how much of this audience realizes yesterday was Yom Kippur for the Jewish community, which is the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. And we were just chasing up what was going on in the local Jewish community, and the fact that the mainstream media, I've got a report coming out in the next couple of hours. I've actually pulled off it to come and join you guys here. But just showing how the mainstream media, with vilifying communities to keep pushing their agenda, and then people like Daniel Andrews we just saw there, then they're helping each other. The media is helping the government is helping the media. Both two of those groups are the only ones unaffected. They're getting paid throughout. In fact, they're getting pay rises throughout this, and they're sitting here and turning and dividing the community on each other. But not what I was come on to talk about. But
go ahead. The floor is yours, Avi. I love hearing you talk. I love watching your videos where you I love the video where you looked at that police. You said, "Say I'm sorry. Say I'm sorry." you remind me from some of my Bankstown boys. Avi, over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Look, I haven't. It's been really busy around here, and I haven't had much time to think about what I'm even going to talk about. And when we spoke briefly about doing this, you thought maybe let's talk about. I can talk to people about some of the legal stuff we've been doing and what we're seeing, which I'll get to in a second. I think what's important is though, you point out that video of where I ask the police, demand the police say sorry for doing something wrong. And it's weird for me because if 2 years ago, I would have been the guy that was sitting here telling you back the blue 100%. They've got the toughest job in the world and I support them, and they've got to deal with some of the most vile, parts of our community that have no respect for the community, for life. And today I'm sitting here saying, I can't back them like I used to because these days I see so many of them abusing their emergency powers for their own power trips, like we saw in that clip, in that video. And I give credit where credit is due. When I see a cop doing the right thing today, especially, I will go out of my way to ensure to give him credit publicly because it's probably a bit difficult in the police force right now to stand up for what's right. But there are good coppers out there. I know, I see them. They come up to me all the time, and they. I just don't think that they've got a loud voice within the police force at the moment. Now, what I was going to talk about, I didn't prepare anything, but I thought about it briefly. Was obviously Rebel News. We're a news site, but throughout the pandemic, we've turned into, which is when I've actually officially joined. I used to do some work for them on a contract basis when I'd go over to different jobs like Hong Kong and things like that. But I joined Rebel News officially during the pandemic, and it was interesting because Rebel News kind of grew this civil liberties wing. In fact, in Canada, they've opened a non-for-profit as part to work alongside Rebel News, the Democracy Fund, which just because of the work, the civil liberties work in Canada they were doing. We've got Fight the Fines here, which started in Canada. And in Canada, they've got, I think, close to 2,500 fines they're fighting. And here we've got dozens we're fighting as well. But one of the things that I've noticed since starting the civil liberties campaign, which is sad because we shouldn't really have to do that. There are so many civil liberties organisations which have gone radio silent throughout this pandemic. In fact, some of the human rights lawyers and civil liberties organisations are condemning people for not accepting the vaccine mandates and lockdowns and some of the restrictions that have come with it and some of the abuses of human rights that have come throughout this pandemic. So we live in this weird time that news sites are the ones that are having to not only report on human rights abuses but also sorry, it's not Rona, I promise. Not only report it but to also stand up and do something about it. So we've got a lot of litigation going on around the country at the moment. We have the Fight the Fines program. I guess the Fight the Fines, what I want to talk about, because I know we get my inbox is full, and the Rebel News tips and the Fight the Fines inbox is full with people every day getting fines over the, a lot of them are not even meaning to break the restrictions. It's just they get caught out, or they get put in a position where they're unable, or they don't know their rights, or they've read things that have given them a misunderstanding of the rules. So I wouldn't come on here and give legal advice. I'm not a lawyer at all. But one of the errors that I have seen, I've noticed from, and it's probably from, legal misinformation that goes around online, where people are trying to stand up for their rights, which I absolutely understand and agree with. That's what I do. I think everybody should do that, and you should really know your rights, but you've got to be careful where you're reading and where you're learning what your rights are, because sometimes people tell you, one of the things that we've seen, the repeated mistakes that I've seen with a lot of the cases that have come through or have applied for help are that when police come up to you and they suspect you of breaching the chief health officer's directions, if they suspect it, that they do actually have the right to ask for your name and address, and you do have to provide it. When you don't provide it at that point, that's when you're opening yourself up to an additional offence, and that's where a lot of people are getting stuck. They're getting themselves into a little bit of strife just on that, because at the end of the day, the breach of the health orders either ends up being it's not a breach, but if so we're actually finding we're getting people off the breaches, but they're getting in trouble with the refusing to give their details. So you can fight the breach, and you often can be right, but if they have a reason to suspect, and it's got to be like they can't just walk up to you and say that they don't have it. So you can ask them, why do you suspect that I am breaching the orders? They've got to have actual grounds that they can say that is reasonable reason, so they can turn to a judge and say, well, we have a reasonable reason to suspect that he was breaching the rules by not wearing a mask, and we think that because, or he's outside his 5 kilometers because we saw his number plate and we looked it up and it's whatever it is. They've got to have reasonable grounds, and that's where you can question them on their grounds before you give them the details. But ultimately, if they are using if they're saying they are reasonably suspecting you of breaching the restrictions, give them your name and give them your details. Like if you watch all my videos, I don't break the law. Hence why I'm taking them to court, because I've got these 6 different scenarios where I was either arrested or detained or whatever, which is essentially the same thing. So when they're detaining you, always ask them, am I free to go? And you can see, but I've never been charged for any breach of the COVID restrictions or any, because I know what the rules are and I work within them. Now, I know there are people out there that want to specifically go out and defy the rules, and each to their own. I'm not going to sit here and judge people in this time when things are, I understand people are really desperate. But for those of you who are like this event. You want to stand up, you want to be heard, you want to push back, but you don't want to attract the criminal offences or whatever it is.
Agreed,
You
Avi.
need to know what
Mm,
the law
mm,
actually is, and don't get fooled, because at the end of the day, I've had a lot of people contact us and go, I bought this booklet online that taught me and I followed all the
mm,
steps, and the court laughed me out, or the court, or nobody's actually, or that police don't follow. And I'm not, the police are breaking the law. In fact, the police don't know the law half the time. You can see them in all my
correct.
videos. They don't know the law. And that's why even somebody who's wrong, technically wrong about the law, who argues with the police, you might think at the end he's won the argument and he's right because they've backed down. But then they often come back and hit you with the fine later, or they hit you with, and not always does the fact that they arrest you or find you or whatever mean that they're right. Again, no. But just because you've seen someone make an argument to police, it doesn't
Yep.
mean the argument is valid. So you need to
Uh,
actually know what the rules are, and if you're going to try use a lot of these constitutional arguments, which may technically, if you really can fight it and put it in front of a high court, you may be onto something. But if you try and make that argument in the magistrate's court, it's not going to happen. You cannot have a constitutional argument there. So know on a practical level, because when they take you to the magistrate's court, the only thing you can argue on is the facts. It is the magistrate's court is going to assume that the directions are lawful, and the fact is, were you breaking it or not? Now, if you're willing, if you're one of these fighters that has no problem going to court and wants to fight, then go for it. But for those people out there that are messaging us every day and that have read these booklets and tried to stand up for themselves, but have refused to give police their details, have you refused? I'm sorry, you're really going to find yourself in that trouble. And just look, at the end of the day, most cops, you give them your details.
Avi, I love your advice there, and it's so practical. Know your rights, work within them. There's a lot of freedom within our rights and the law. Don't believe everything you read on Google or someone inbox you, or I saw this video from Canada and they did this. It doesn't apply in Australia. Avi, I appreciate you, my brother.
That video that you're specifically talking about was a day later debunked, and people, you need to critically think, just like you're critically thinking about the health orders, just like you're critically thinking about the vaccines and the vaccine pass. Critically think about information that people are giving you from your side.
Avi,
that's my
mate, God bless. I'll call someone else a national treasure, but your brother, a Jewish brother of mine, I follow you. Where are we going to find you? Avi, tell us where we're going to find you at rebelnews.com. Is that right?
rebelnews.com.au is where we have specific Australia content. I would recommend people sign up to our mailing list at yeminireport.com, just because you never know day to day which platform is going to censor us. At the moment, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, but time will only tell. I'm on Telegram. I don't know. We're everywhere. If you look hard enough, you'll find us. But yeminireport.com, if you sign up to our mailing list, we'll just send you the important
file. A personal shout out to Mario Malik there. What a great guy. What a legend he is. He's helping us out today. Avi, thank you so much,
We're
my
excited
friend.
to have Mario on the team, and New South Wales is in good hands with Mario Malik on the Rebel News team.
Mario Malik, he's my newfound best. He's my third best friend now in the whole world.
God, that's amazing. Well done, and good on you for putting this up. It's great to see people pushing back in different ways. It's important. Well done.
Always peaceably and within the law. Thank you, Avi.